Welcome to the Metamorphosis Podcast, hosted by Erin in the United States and myself, Nora Brucker in Germany. In this podcast, we talk to people about transformation and the moments and events that change us. We hope you enjoy.
Hey, Nora. How's it going?
It's going good. We've been super busy over these past couple of days and weeks. I feel like I'm constantly recording stuff.
I had no idea this was going to be like the takeover of life that it is.
Right? I mean, I had recently talked to somebody and he said like it's kind of like a part-time job, and I actually have to agree it is, especially if you put in like so much effort like we do.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun work.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think it's also very interesting because we're obviously talking about change and we're telling like people's stories about change. And I feel like that we've also went through our own little metamorphosis during this entire experience of being a newbie podcaster, right?
I think so. And I think probably we'll continue to kind of morph as we go along and find what fits us best.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, the biggest challenge in the beginning, other than obviously like finding the right equipment and like the million discussions that we had about like what's the right microphone and what do you use and what should we use and all of this, I think the most challenging part was also kind of like finding your own style and knowing exactly like where you want to go with the interviews and like what do we want to convey when we're like actually doing all of our episodes. I think that was the most challenging part in the beginning.
I think so too. And learning that it doesn't have to be like all scripted or all the same, or as we tell stories and different stories require a different storytelling method, right?
Yeah, completely. And I think that listeners are actually going to notice that we have had like quite the change in like the way that we're doing our episodes now, because in the beginning, probably also because it's like you getting into the topic of being a podcaster and trying to like, I mean, both you and I, we're not journalists, right? I mean, I have a background in marketing, you have a background in PR, but we're not really journalists. And so like really interviewing people on something like a podcast was not something that we've been doing in our lives. And so, finding a relaxed way of doing it, I think that's something that people are going to notice, that the more episodes are coming out, the more we're just turning our interviews into conversations,
Right.
And have them much more relaxed and show emotions.
Right. For now, anyway. Who knows what it'll turn into?
Correct. I mean, I think that's the funny part. We talk about metamorphosis, but we're also going constantly through metamorphoses. Is that a word? Metamorphosis?
How do you make it plural? I would have to look that up. I'm going to say more metamorphosis.
Oh.
I don't know. No, that's all right. Metamorphosi?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Huh.
Anyone listening who knows the plural of metamorphosis, please contact us and let us know. So what do you think the biggest thing is that you've learned so far?
As someone who's doing interviews, as someone who's doing podcasts, like, oh my God, I feel like with every single episode, I not only learn something new about like the topics that we're talking about and like the experiences that people made, but I learn, something new about myself as well. And I think one of the things that makes us a little bit more unique down the line, and you might not notice that at the very beginning of our episodes, like at the first episodes that we did, but now the ones that we're going to launch pretty soon, is that we're, inserting more of our own experience and here and there our own opinions and just like, sharing more about you and I as well. So I feel like you're also getting to know yourself a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking to other people and about what they've experienced in life. What about you?
That's a good one. Um, the biggest thing I've learned is probably the technical stuff.
That's true.
I feel like I've become like an overnight phenom. Maybe not phenom, that's a little strong.
And you took so well to all of that. Like you were like such a fast learner.
And I don't feel like I usually am with technology, but yeah, I guess when you want to learn something, you learn it quickly.
Yeah, and you're passionate about something. I've definitely like I threw myself into this podcast over the past couple of weeks, you know. It was great. And we've been like collecting stories, like we've been talking to people not just once a day, but like a couple of people every single day over the past 2 or 3 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a lot of pre-calls and a lot of prep for interviews. And then the interviews are just piling up too. I've got a lot of editing time ahead of me.
Me too. So let's go a little bit into the stories that we've already shared and that we're gonna share, that we've already recorded. Like, what were some of like the favorite parts of the episodes that we've done so far?
Oh my gosh. Um, my favorite parts are when people get real and show emotions and just let their, true person come through.
Mm,
Christine's was huge with her sharing about her doomsday cult.
obviously, yeah.
And that was, I think, very impactful, and allowing her the space to own that story was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if people know that, but you're like super fascinated by this entire topic of like cults and stuff like that. Like both of us, we have like our topics where we're in the beginning when we did this, when we started this podcast, where we both said like, I absolutely want to do a story about so and so.
Yeah.
And that was a topic for you. And that we, met this wonderful woman so early on in our own journey. That was crazy.
Yeah, so maybe that's why that was a favorite moment, because it is an interesting topic to me already. But yeah, I feel like she was the first like real like emotional grit that we had.
Yeah.
And not that, Erin and Jay were amazing as well, but like I think I just really identified with her.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't identify with her story, but like just letting herself come out and feel what she was feeling. And then you followed that up with another emotional. I think I get into emotion. I like people just being real.
Mm-hmm.
So like Patty, it got real, and it just, I don't know, it kind of gives you the feels,
Yeah, I think I have to say, like doing the interview with Patty and Tim, because I know these people so well, but during this entire process of telling their stories, I've learned so many things that I had no idea about. And I think that is also one of the things that is so interesting in doing this. Like, even if you interview people that you don't really know everything about them.
Mm-mm.
And even if you witness specific stories, it's like really going into the, like deep dive of emotions and thoughts. And like when you really, because I guess in life, you never really ask people, but what was that like? And like, what did you feel when that was happening? And like,
Mm-hmm.
asking them about these specific emotions and all of that. I loved doing this episode. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also very fitting that is basically like, it already shows in which direction we're going to go with the episodes that are following. Because it is more like conversational. It is more showing
Mm-hmm.
our own emotions while we're doing this and not just being like a bystander.
Right.
And so I think that's like a pivotal moment for our podcast as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you want to spoil a little bit about what's to come?
I guess we can. Do you have any specifics in mind?
Well, I mean, I obviously don't want to give away too much, but I'm amazed by the, vast majority of amazing episodes that are, about to come. And we've looked through all of our connections, like communities that we're part of, people that we know, everything. Like you look at people completely differently when you're trying to find out like whose story do I want to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And we found some amazing people, and some amazing people found us.
Yeah. That's what's been so surprising to me, is the people that are coming to us.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So not to give, up too much, but we have, for example, somebody, which has been like a happy moment for me because I'm a huge TV nerd, right? And we actually have an episode coming up of somebody who has been working from like the very first episode of Chicago PD until 2018 with that show, telling, a little bit of background information about the film industry and, what that's like, which is super interesting. We have some people who had extremely emotional trauma happen to them. Death of a partner, in various ways. We had surprising diseases. We had suicide. There's a lot of very emotional episodes coming up.
Yeah. And also some of the more lighthearted stories too, about just more everyday life kind of moments. We have a lot of heavy topics, but we also are sprinkling in some more lighthearted, fun conversations as well. But all of them have been such amazing people to get to know. And it's been so much fun interviewing and just learning about people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Should we tell our listeners about Fresno?
Let's tell people about Fresno.
Well, Fresno is a character that I think we will all love when we hear about.
Mm-hmm.
He is a dancing skeleton.
Which I love.
He's a friendly dancing skeleton.
Yeah. And he's going to make an appearance in a children's book.
Yeah. So I'm excited to learn more about Fresno.
Uh-huh.
And I'm excited to meet Fresno in real life.
Me too. So are there any specific like topics that you still want to tell on our podcast? Like, is there anything where like, I really, 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 really want to find a person, that tells their story about this or that?
I do. And you don't even know it yet.
Tell me.
I would really love to find someone who has been abducted by a UFO.
That's awesome.
Or has at least witnessed a UFO.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, we're kind of coming close already, right? We have a couple of stories, coming up that are diving more into that, spiritual.
So, honest to goodness, I was just reading yesterday, actually, about a town not too far from where I'm at right now. It's up in Massachusetts, that back in, I want to say it was September of '69, there were several residents who reportedly saw and witnessed a UFO and claimed to have been taken up.
So I guess you should go out there and find find those people.
So I really hate that coronavirus, because I would just drive to the town and just do live interviews, but coronavirus. So, but I would love to like reach out and find someone.
Yeah, I think that would be a very interesting story. I absolutely agree with you. Well, here's the thing. There has already been a couple of topics that are actually coming up, some episodes that are coming up, that were topics where I really, really wanted to dive deeper into that. We have one wonderful lady coming up. She actually spent a tremendous amount of time in prison. And I always wanted to talk to someone who's experienced that, because I think it's a very important topic to talk about what's happening when people are coming out of prison and how difficult it is to resume life, if you can even, say that you resume life, because you have to figure out a completely new life. And I mean, I never would have dreamed, obviously, that I would be able to tell the story of someone who's been working on one of my absolute favorite TV shows. And so I feel like there's already a couple of episodes coming up that are like, I'm very excited about.
Yes. Definitely. And then I can't even come up with the things that we haven't even dreamed up yet.
100% true, because there's already some stuff where we're like, what?
Yeah,
That's amazing. I want to tell that person's story.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to get to the point where I'm brave enough to just go up to people and be like, "Hey, I want to tell your story."
I mean, yeah, and we've kind of already been doing that.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more out there where like that would be insane and great and amazing to tell that person's story. And people seem to receive like the topic of change and life-changing moment really well. It seems to be something
Really well.
that people think is really interesting, and they seem, everybody kind of seems to have the story about change, whatever that is like. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Again, I've said it before, but I think it's something that helps you find commonality with other people.
very true.
And so I think it kind of unites people when they realize that we're not so different after all, and we all have experienced change on some level.
Very true. Yeah, absolutely.
So what else? Anything else that we should cover before we go and conquer the world?
I don't know. It's been such an inspiring and exciting process to do all of this, figure everything out. And now you and I, we both have different microphones and different like technical stuff that we've, all figured out. And we have so many stories aligned already that are going to come out. And I think it's just
Mhm.
I'm just so excited to share all of this with our listeners and also to hear from them. That would be amazing. We already have a couple of people who
Mhm.
told us what their favorite, stories were all about. But I think it would be fantastic to also, have more people reach out to us and tell us like what were the episodes that you really liked, like who did you feel like very connected to. I think that would be fantastic if we would have
Right.
like really build community around our fantastic topics and the fantastic guests that we had.
I think so too. And I think it's worth noting as well that it's both equal parts challenging and refreshing to maybe even have stories that we have found ourselves being very neutral on,
Yes,
where we allow a platform for people. And it's kind of been a challenge at times even to be neutral and not interject my own opinion or feelings or what views on things. I think it's very important if we say that we are a platform for diverse topics that we have an open mind to whatever topics come our way.
I agree with you so much. And there's going to be a couple of episodes where, our own point of views might, be different than the person that is, on that episode. But I think that doesn't really matter, because if we say that we want to show people's lives from all over the world and we want to show like what change does to people or how people,
Right.
chose change, I think it is also very important to not just show the life stories that you can understand or that you 100% agree with. And so, yes, there's going to be episodes coming up where we insert our own opinion because we might have shared an experience with that person.
Hmm.
But there's also going to be episodes coming up where we just allow a person to have this platform and tell their stories. And it might be different than what we think and we feel. But I think that's fine. And I think it's also very interesting to do that.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Well, I guess we should wrap this up and get back to work.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still so much to do. We have so many episodes recorded.
We will check back in with you guys later on in the season, probably before we wrap up for the season. What do you think, Nora?
Yeah. Yeah. People are definitely going to hear from us a little bit more. And I think there's probably going to be eventually 2 episodes where we first tell your story and when, we're actually going to tell my story.
Ooh, that's a little bit different.
Very different, but also very interesting, I think, because there's a reason why we chose this topic of change.
That's true.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to that down the road.
Yeah.
Just a quick thank you before we sign off to all of our listeners out there. Make sure that you check us out at officialmetamorphosispodcast.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and you can leave comments and reviews on whatever platform you listen to us from. Thanks again, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. The Metamorphosis Podcast is produced by Nora Brucker in Germany and me, Erin Howe, in the United States. Thank you to all of our supporters, and of course, a huge thank you to our guests who are telling us their stories from around the globe about change and life-changing moments. For more information about each episode, check out officialmetamorphosispodcast.com and follow us on Instagram at Official Metamorphosis Podcast for an exclusive look behind the scenes and our guests. We are happy for you to leave your thoughts on each episode, and we are very much looking forward to hearing from you. This is the Metamorphosis Podcast with Nora and Erin.